Okay, I'll let you know when we're... Okie dokie, so you can introduce yourself in any way that you like.
Well, the name my mother gave me was Mr.Umtuch. Last name Umtuch. My people are Wasco, Yakima, from Portland, Oregon, in the Yakima, Washington area. And my father's side is Blackfeet from Browning, Montana. The garter piece comes at nights. Family.
Has your... Well, since you come from two tribes, primarily two peoples, have those lands been severely decreased or degraded or whatever by Americans, white Americans?
Slowly, over the last 500-600 years, slowly, since the time of, of the new people, that got introduced to this land. Slowly, my people, their hunting grounds, their fishing grounds, their sacred sites have slowly lost their value. Not only their value, but their place with my people. And so, as people get these new ideas and technology, grows, our people's ways, we fight hard to keep what we have still.
So tradition is critical. It's important to you.
Yeah, and telling the story is important. Passing that story on, passing the knowledge.
So, are you an elder in your...
I'm not an elder. I'm a leader, but I'm not an elder. I have elders that I go to and that I ask for advice because I won't ever have all the answers. And when I'm stuck doing a lot of the things I do, I go talk to them, I sit with them, and then they'll give me their advice, and then I have to keep going forward.
So I'm going to ask you a few questions, but before I do that, would you like to make a general statement about what's happening here and how you view the arrival of so many non-indigenous peoples and the gathering of so many different nations?
Well, my general feeling is it was written in the stars. It was also written in people's dreams that this time would come. It would be time of change. It would be the 7th generation. And so, you have these good people coming from all walks of life, all cultures, non-native and native. And so the understanding came to me a long time ago. I had to accept these non-native people, and with that I was able to move forward and forgive the unforgivable, because that's what my people teach each other, is we have to learn to forgive the unforgivable, and that's what's been done to us in order to heal and move forward and grow strong again. And so my general feeling with this camp here, I feel good. I don't mind, I always teach that, if you don't know something, just ask. Don't feel bad about asking, because that's what we're here for, to help you.
Right.
And so, I've accepted, a long time ago that these people are going to come. And now they're with us in a way that we can appreciate. And doing this together, this fight, it's going to be powerful.
So it's basically a tiny Band-Aid on a very large wound, but it is a start.
It is a very huge start. We don't ever, I'm sure there's some out there that want to go after reparations or apologies. I think that, for myself, when I talked about forgiving the unforgivable, that means I've forgiven you, and I have to keep going. And otherwise, I will be stuck in a world of chaos and hate and anger. And
so there is a way forward that obviously would take quite a bit of communication among peoples of how we move forward from this point.
Right. General respect. General respect is always, they call it in Lakota, is wo'ahola. It's like the word respect, but with a deeper meaning. It's acceptance, respect, and understanding. And so that's what's being taught here, is wo'ahola.
Wo'ahola.
Yeah. And so that's what these people are learning from us. And we don't mind.
Well, I've learned a lot. from you. That's goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. So I was going to my court arraignment in Bismarck or Mandan last week. Got stuck in the snowdrifts and had to stay there for 3 nights. And I had some repairs that I had to do on my little RV that you're sitting in here. And I ran into several people who worked at these garages and RV stores and that sort of thing. And without being judgmental or trying to characterize them, they were not sympathetic pretty much at all. And so I'd like to ask you, 4 or 5 questions regarding what they said and what your responses would be. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Okay. The first one is that it's costing North Dakota $17 million to deal with you rabble-rousers. And how much money does it take before you're satisfied? Can you respond to that?
You're asking how much we...
I mean, you've been getting, according to them, the tribes, the nations have been paid everything they're due, and now North Dakota's having to spend $17 million in security, as they call it, for what's going on here, and why should they spend more on Native peoples one way or the other?
Well, I don't think it's about Native peoples. I don't think it's about generally us. I think we're standing up for what we feel is right, and that's protecting this earth.
Mm-hmm.
We all have to walk on it. We all have to live on it. We all have to take care of it. Just like you would go home and take care of, your house. Make sure you have a clean place, your water's clean, you have food in your fridge. Just like that, we have to look at it that way. And so if they feel like they have to spend money to protect their pipeline, that's for them to carry. We never asked them to do that. We never came at them with threatening matters.
Mm-hmm.
We never came at them with anything like gases or guns, tear gases. We never came at them with ballistic armor on. We never came at them with tanks. And for them to feel like they have to spend that money, okay, we have to accept that and keep going forward at them to stop this pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't think that it's on Native people to decide for them.
Mm-hmm.
They have to decide what they do.
Mm-hmm.
It's not on us to decide for them what they do with their money. I don't think we would want to.
Another question or another comment that was made several times is that this was from a photojournalist from Bismarck Tribune who interviewed me at the Kirkwood Mall because I was present in the mall. I wasn't part of the action there at all. I was having Chinese food. But he made a couple comments, and the first one being that the 1851 treaty was actually broken by the tribes and not by the American government. What's your comment about that?
I feel like, when there's an agreement needs to be stuck with, whether it's 100, 200 years down the road, agreement has to be honored and it has to be refreshed. What's expected. I don't think anything like that has happened.
Okay.
But the idea that a treaty was made itself is really disturbing. I live in 2016 and we're talking about treaties. And
right.
So here we are today talking about treaties. Well, we need to learn how to live together. And if that's the case, I don't know about treaties. To me, those were an old tradition. Maybe it's time to reform a new treaty if that's what they need to do for themselves, to feel like they've accomplished something.
And do you feel that, this is my own personal question, do you feel as if the members of the First Nations who agreed to those treaties may not have really understood what they were agreeing to?
I think the English communications. I think we were at a disadvantage from the beginning when it came to signing anything. The idea of signing something, I can imagine, was confusing. Word was enough for my people.
Okay.
And so I would think that, you know, the understanding behind it at that time, let that happen today with my people. We are educated now.
Okay. Another comment that I heard, not only from the photojournalists, but from a lot of the workers in these garages, was that the meetings were announced before the pipeline was in, and the tribes just didn't have the time to attend, didn't bother to attend the meetings and voice their opinions. Can you say anything about that?
I can't say anything about that.
Okay. Another point they made was this pipeline goes through what they call an energy corridor. It's been dug up many times. Power lines have put in. Other pipelines have been put in. And why are you complaining now?
I can't answer that either.
Okay. And do you feel that the digging of the pipeline, whether it's been dug before in that area, which I know you consider much of it sacred ground, is redisturbing that soil? Was it still sacred after the pipeline, old transmission stuff was put in, and you still consider it sacred even though they're dug up stuff?
I think what's sacred is what we make sacred. Our hearts is telling us something is happening that shouldn't be happening. And so when we talk about sacred sites, we have to really understand what sacred means to us. And so for me, they are doing something to disturb what I consider sacred. They're working towards contaminating this water source. Whether they're doing it on sacred sites or not, there is something happening here to disturb us and to bring harm to us. And so sacred sites are here. Those aren't being acknowledged or respected. And I feel like, you know, I'm from Portland, Oregon. We deal with the same type of stuff because it was 200 years ago. It doesn't matter today. You know, and so I feel like whatever you could consider sacred, I consider where we're living sacred now. This will be always remembered, what we do here.
Well, I'm well aware of what was done to a lot of the traditional fishing sites in the Pacific Northwest with the dams and the taking away of those properties. But so my last question for you is that, again, one of the things that people brought up, these people brought up, was haven't we paid enough that this should all just go away? And then I'd like you to finish with the accusation that I heard many times that the violence was perpetrated by the people here, and that, for example, the woman whose arm was almost blown off was her own fault because she tried to use a gas canister as a bomb. And they refuse to believe the footage, the video footage that has been shot and shown. They think that's propaganda.
Okay, so to answer your first question, you can't place value on what's been done to the people, to the First Nations people. You can't place monetary value. It isn't about giving. It isn't about anything like that. You know, it's more about respecting each other. You know, we're all humans. And to make it a us versus them, that's an us versus them question. You know, we're not two different people. We're the same people. It's 2016, and we're still talking about stuff like that. You know? And I think to clear the air and make it respectful with each other, we can't think of it that way. It's that we're not asking for a lot here. We're asking for you to respect our waters.
Well, one of the things that I kept bringing up, I didn't really get into it with these guys because I needed them to work on my RV, but I did voice opinions, and one was that it seemed to me that this was actually sitting down at a table and working things out, not just digging your heels into the sand and saying, what we just talked, what the question you just answered. So, what can you say about the accusations that your group and the Standing Rock camp and people in it are actually inciting the violence? They're actually trying to make violence happen because it makes the cause more obvious.
Well, I think to answer a part of your question, the evidence was presented by Morton County, and they were saying that her arm was blown off by a canister, a propane canister. If you've seen pictures of that propane canister, you would see it never bursted. You would see there's no burn marks.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't think that's true. These people were throwing concussion grenades into the crowds of people and spraying ice water.
Mm-hmm.
I think if we were moving forward to go pray at these pipeline sites and they didn't want us over there, so they had to use force to stop us, it was excessive. They knew what they were doing. That's their form of oppression.
Mm-hmm.
And I think whoever's leading them should take a look at themselves and how they carry themselves when they want to see their cousins, their sisters, their brothers, their kids treated this way. Mm-hmm. If they wanted to go pray somewhere. Would they expect that kind of oppression?
Mm-hmm.
And so there's some confusion and lostness in that person's heart who is ever leading these people.
Mm-hmm.
We can't take a look about what we're doing. We need to take a look about what they're doing, how their decisions are being made.
Mm-hmm.
For a long time, we've sat back. We've had to take what was given. Mm-hmm. What they don't realize is that we've been building back up to who we are and what we are, but we've been getting educated.
Well, I think there was this is again my opinion, a large gap between the original founders of the AIM movement, Dennis Banks, Russell Means, and the other guys. And do you think that created the destruction of AIM, at least as a political force? Do you think that there was a gap between that time and now, and this is a sort of a resurrection of that sense of self, a sense of pride, a sense of who you are?
I don't think you want to label anything that we're doing here other than that we're trying to protect this water.
Mm-hmm.
And so for us to put labels on people or to label their organizations, I think we need to start looking at each other as human beings.
We're all okay.
And not AIM. Not these people from England, or, we need to start addressing each other as human beings before we even start talking. We could talk about history all day. We could start talking about everything that's been done already.
Mm-hmm.
What we're doing is creating our future.
Starting a brand new day, as
right.
One of the songs goes by.
And so as we go forward, we can't have all these conflicting questions. All those questions that those people asked you to ask is really all about conflict, and it raises conflict not only in myself, but for the listener who has to hear the answers to those questions.
Mm-hmm.
And so what those conflicting questions do is it keeps the oppression going.
Mm-hmm. And takes the focus off what really should be happening.
We don't want to come here to fight. Believe there's fight in these people, but not into the violent way.
Mm-hmm.
We've all lived some kind of life where there was violence involved, and we've chosen to set that life, aside, push it away.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's pretty much all I wanted to ask. And do you have anything you want to say? If not, that's fine. If you don't. But here's your chance to say something.
Well, I'd like to mention that, ever since Brian, the brother that's interviewing me, has come here, he has been a supportive person here in camp. He has helped us, and we've appreciated him and accepted him as our brother. As somebody that we care about. And it's people like Brian, the Creator, puts in our lives, in our past, and we have to learn from it and accept it, and that's okay. And so I'd like to say I appreciate Brian here.
Well, I truly feel I found true family here, and it means a tremendous amount to me, and I want you to know that too. So I only plan to, if you agree, to put this video on our Amnesty International page or my personal page, or if you'd rather not have it posted at all, that's your choice. You just tell me what's okay.
Well, I think, word is freedom. People all have a voice, and we all have our ways of thinking and talking with our hearts. And so if you wanted to share what I had to say, that would be perfectly fine, because I'm not ashamed or worried about what I say.
Well,
and I would hope those people that you share it with take it as that also. I'm not a decision maker. My role in this camp is I need to take care of the people I bring with me to this camp.
mm-hmm.
I'm not here to plan some military tactics or, plan some actions. I'm here to take care of the people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's needed here. Protectors of the people and the land. That's what's needed here.
And I'd say in my almost month here that that's very obvious, and the care for the people, not only your people, relatives, but also all the people you've brought in to the tent and feed and clothe and provide beds, is tremendous. And I personally am pretty much overwhelmed by the generosity and the soul and heart that you bring to this, and I can't say thank you enough, and I consider you a brother. So with that, I can close this interview.
Oh.
Okay.
Awesome.